this week. It's Malcolm Clarke and Liam Carr, and we're doing the Politics podcast on video. We're also going to be uploading in the usual way for MP3 for those of you who prefer that. But I welcome Liam, the parliamentary candidate for Hexham for the Labour Party, to talk about tax evasion. Liam?
Yeah, thanks very much for that, Malcolm. It's been a busy week as always. I've been out knocking on doors, listening to people in Hexham and Acomb. And yeah, it's been pretty busy. But what we've seen hit the headlines this week, Malcolm, is tax avoidance and tax evasion. Tax avoidance is legal, but I would say immoral, and tax evasion is a bit more naughty and could end you up in prison. So we've had a policy announcement pretty much today from the Lib Dem. Danny Alexander was wheeled out of the Treasury onto the Marsh show to say that they're going to tackle tax avoidance. Well, they've had 5 years almost to do this, and they've seen nothing, perhaps because too many Conservative donors engage in these aggressive tax avoidance schemes.
Now, the Labour Party did say that we wanted to really tackle this hard. What do you think are the main things that we need to do in order to raise these and to get this where the public are happy that we're actually doing something to make it better?
Well, I think we need to close loopholes and not turn a blind eye to it, because it's been ignored. And I mean, normal working people like myself and yourself, we pay our tax through PAYE, pay as you earn. And we don't have a choice about whether to pay tax or not. And small business owners, and there's an awful lot of them in the Hexham constituency. I was talking to a few in Hexham Town Centre on Saturday. And they're just dismayed by this because they pay their tax in full and on time by filling in their tax returns. And even if they're a little bit short, they'll be taken to tax by HMRC. Why should it be any different for very wealthy individuals or huge corporations?
Yeah, I think it does come down to tackling the big issues, and we've seen Ed Miliband's quite happy to stand up to Murdoch. He's also changed relationships with the unions and all that people have different views on. But it goes to show that we are going to be tackling things that previously people have been nervous to do so. And I think that's important for gaining public confidence in politics as much as in ourselves.
Yeah, we have shown that the Labour Party is prepared to take on vested interests wherever they are, whether they're in the press or the energy companies, or in this case, huge companies and wealthy individuals who are avoiding tax.
So moving on then, the next topic we're going to talk about is the very unfortunate story about the girls from Bethnal Green who appear to have travelled to Istanbul with a view, the concern is, to go to Syria. And obviously this is a very concerning story, Liam, about people who've been radicalised, possibly online, and young girls in particular, who are now going across to participate or to have some role within that organisation. What are your thoughts on that in general, and what we should be doing as a response to it?
Well, I think it needs to come down to education and trying to keep an eye on what kids are doing online. I mean, I've got 2 daughters myself, and this story just strikes fear into the heart of any parent. Obviously, they've been in touch online with these organisations, and they think that they're going to have a better life out there. And I can't see it because, I mean, this organisation, they're very controlling the relationships these girls are going to get themselves into. There's stories of domestic violence from survivors who've gone over there, and I mean, they are just entering into a very violent culture with an organisation, ISIS, whose ideology really couldn't be more different than the British values that these girls have been brought up with. So it's very sad, it's very worrying, and I think we just need to guard against it, and schools, parents and other organisations really need to keep an eye on this, because it just goes against everything that you would ever expect. That you've got 3 girls who've been brought up in this country. You would think that this would never happen, but obviously it has. And there is a role for government and agencies to address this radicalisation.
I agree, and I think for me it was just like you say, so out of the ordinary of what you'd expect to happen. That we were caught on the hop a little bit with it, and I think we do have to be vigilant about what we're doing online. Internet gives us so much, but it also throws up a few dangers as well, and I think we need to be really spending some money basically on making sure that monitoring online is doing better. I think, like you say, it's about knowing what your kids are doing online, but it's very easy to hide stuff, and I think these families are devastated. Hopefully the girls are going to come back. But it was such a shock for them, and my heart goes out to them, and I do hope they come back safe and sound. Yeah,
my thoughts remain with their families. It must be just a horrendous time for them at the minute.
Moving on then, the next story that we're going to cover is the UKIP and Meet the UKIPers, and of course, as a result of that documentary, comments made by, at the time, a UKIP councillor rendered her expelled from the party due to some out-of-date and controversial comments she made towards black people. Liam, does this show UKIP in a poor light, or does it shine a light on the type of people that's involved in that party?
Well, it's right that she's been expelled from UKIP, and what we're seeing is that UKIP, now they're becoming, I suppose, a bit more established. The same level of scrutiny that would apply to any political party now applies to them. So she would be expelled from any political party for airing these views. She made some really negative comments about black people and used a very old-fashioned term to refer to them. And it just shows you what sort of people are attracted to UKIP. And you wouldn't want these people holding a council position or high office at all. And it is worrying that people vote for, if people do vote for UKIP, they really don't know what they're going to get.
Yeah, I mean, I know the way that UKIP sort of gather candidates, because they seem very good at like by-elections where they go from one seat to the next, and it's like that machine that just goes. But when they have to distribute that to many seats, it becomes a lot more difficult for them, and they don't have an established network of members, so they're looking for, you know, well-known community figures, well-known anti-politics figures to stand for them, and what they get is people who take advantage of that opportunity but also have other things going on underneath. It seems to be with this lady that she has very controversial views that aren't even welcome in UKIP, and like you say, scrutiny as a mainstream party that the media are treating them as is being applied. And I also find it very odd that they complain loudly about the treatment they get off the media. As far as I'm concerned, having 2 MPs, quite a lot of MEPs, they get a really good deal out of the media. They've had a very positive press so far. Yes, they get criticism, but the criticism is from the actions that they're making.
They certainly get a disproportionate level of airtime compared to the main parties, but I mean, it's just a challenge that we have to face in the main parties. New political parties come along once every so often, and what people have to realise is that UKIP, they're not the party of working people, they're made up of ex-Conservative politicians. They're more Tory than the Tories. So yeah, it's a challenge we have to face, and it's a one that I'm happy to face both on the doorstep and at Huston's. I'm quite looking forward to it.
Speaking of the opportunism, Liam, that you mentioned there, I've got something I want to share. I read tonight, and there's a little bit of a brouhaha I come across over Austin Mitchell, the Grimsby MP for Labour, who's standing down. He has I think a 714 majority over the Conservative candidate, a lady called Wendy, I forget her last name, sorry. And she's actually standing for UKIP this time. So that's a classic example of the opportunism where she's just looking to get elected, has sort of identified that seat. And as she came quite close last time, she's moved over, try to take advantage of that area. And I know that area quite well, and it could well be one that perhaps is potentially vulnerable to UKIP. And I just find it, was that a genuine move, or was it electoral opportunism?
Well, they all are. I mean, they just seem to get ex-Conservatives standing for them, and yeah, it's just the very extreme right wing of the Tory party. It seems like to me that's the sort of candidates they attract.
So in terms of your local campaigning this week, what have you been up to and where?
Well, I've been in Hexham and Acomb, which is always good to be in Hexham. I was talking to some small business owners, and again about tax and just a few things that could be done in the town itself, and I'll pass those ideas on to the town councillors. And yeah, I was listening to voters both in Hexham Central itself and in Acomb, which is a small village outside of Hexham, and people really agree that we need a change of government when we're canvassing. It is one of the questions that we ask: do we need a change of government? And yeah, a lot of people think we do need change. What we need to do is we need to be able to convert that dissatisfaction with the current government into a result for Labour, and I'll be working very hard to do that between now and May the 7th.
For myself, Malcolm Clarke, and on behalf of Liam Carr, we'll see you next time, and thank you for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching, and thanks for listening.